Welcome to the StockTrak New Features webinar for Spring 2019. My name is Kevin Smith. I've been working on a lot of these projects for the last few months, and I'd like to get you introduced to how they work and how they can be used in your classes. So first, we have added and are still adding quite a lot of new features for this semester. 2018 is our biggest year ever. We have more developers working and more features coming and more things that professors are asking. So this is a list of the stuff that we either have added or is coming very soon. Professor dashboard, some new tournament rules, a lot of stuff for assignments, some things for our career center, and we're even adding a couple new reports. So let me dive right in and show you how they work. So first up is called the Professor Dashboard. You've noticed already when you've logged in with your professor account that you have a couple little tidbits of information right when you log in on what's called the dashboard now. But we're revamping this from the ground up. We're putting it together to make it a lot easier for you to find the information that you need for your class. Basically, we removed a lot of the clutter from the page and we're putting it together to have the stuff you need. So if I pull up the Professor Dashboard to give you an idea what it looks like. This is basically what we're working with, and this is going to change a little bit. This is probably going to be launched in the week of January 14th. But this is what we have right now. So you see here, the first item is your class announcement. This is a message that you're posting to your students. You can see your class forum posts right away. You can see your top traded securities for your class. So what are your students actually trading? These are the most common symbols in your class. This is a featured news feed. And this news feed is actually coming from us. So when we actually add new features to the platform through the semester, you're going to get notified about it here, as well as the normal emails and things that we send out already. This is a snapshot of your class ranking, where it's listing the students in your class. You can cycle through, see who's doing what, with the View More buttons letting you see each student's portfolio right from your dashboard, as well as your class's assignment progress. So basically most of the stuff that you need is here in one place. The stuff that isn't on this page, you can also find a list of links that are going to be on the rail here. Things like the detailed reports, creating new classes and things. We also have a snapshot towards the top showing how many students are in your class, how many total trades have been placed, forum posts, and things like that. So basically the idea is make it a lot easier to find the information that's going to be relevant to your class as soon as you log in, so you won't have to do as much digging. So next up, new diversification rules. Now, diversification rules is something that professors have been asking us about for years, really. So it's a new class rule that you'll be setting when you set up your class, and the way it works is a cap on how much students can invest in each security type. So an example of that would be a student can only invest up to half their portfolio in equities. So the rest of it they have to put in some other security types like bonds or options. Now, we already have a rule now called a position limit, and that's not going away. So this means that you have two ways to enforce the diversification on your student's portfolio. The first is this new diversification rule, which applies to a whole security type. So the example is a student can only invest half their portfolio in equities, regardless of what their positions are. The other is the older position limit, which applies to a single security. So an example of that, you could say your students can only invest 10% of their portfolio in Apple stock. So the way this is going to work is that when you go to create your next class, this is going to be one of the steps on the class creation page. In the security types, you're going to set both your position limit rules and your diversification rules, and this is going to be separate for each security type. So one of the case examples is going to be, you can say you can invest half your portfolio in equities, but you can invest as much as you want in mutual funds. That way students are free to put more money in mutual funds if they want to, but they're going to be maxed out with equities at 50%. So if you have any questions about how you would use these rules while you're setting up your class, you can always go to the click here for live support, and you can talk to our support team who can walk you through it. It's pretty straightforward. You'll notice that the diversification can go all the way up to 200%, and that's because if you allow margin trading for your class, they can invest all of their portfolio value plus all of their margin in that security type. The next rule is ETF filters. So this is one that we've actually been getting a lot of requests for in the last 12 months. There are many professors who are trying to either have students trade only equities or prevent them from trading equities. So making sure that they are investing in individual stocks. So we get a lot of requests going both ways, depending on what kinds of learning objectives the teachers are focusing on and what kinds of classes they're looking at. So what finally made this possible was changes in our data feed, and this is going to be a new feature, again, added to the class creation page. So you can see here under North America where you'd be picking which of the individual exchanges you want to allow for your class. In addition to the cryptocurrencies we added last year, there's going to be a new section for exchange-traded funds. Now, ETF trading is going to be enabled by default for all existing classes. If you want to turn them on or off for your class, you'll always be able to edit your class later. The ETF trading only applies to the US exchanges. So we don't have the data to tell whether a particular symbol is a stock or an ETF in any of our international markets. So this rule is only going to apply to US trading. The next new tournament rule that we're adding is negative interest rates. So you will actually be able to set a negative interest rate on cash balances for your classes. This is coming in probably 1 or 2 weeks, the week of January 14th or 21st. So with the negative interest rates, basically you'll say instead of students earning 3% on the cash balances they have in their portfolio, they can be earning a negative 10% or negative 20% or whatever you want them to have. This is basically encouraging students to get the skin in the game early, because basically students do respond well to the class rankings. So even if they're not sure exactly what they want to be investing in, this kind of lights a fire to get them start trading sooner than later. So if you want to utilize the negative interest rates, it's going to be on your class page in the edit class variables. After your class is set up, you can go in here and you can change your interest rates towards the bottom here. Interest earned on cash and interest charged on loan can both be set negative, but we basically are intending this mostly for the interest earned on cash. We do also plan on adding this directly to the class creation flow, and when we do that, it would be in the portfolio and class parameters. Next up, we have a bunch of new enhancements coming to our default assignments. So if you've viewed the assignments feature on StockTrak in the past, we've had it for a number of years, and it allows you to do things like mandate your students need to watch some tutorial videos showing how to use the site, or reading some articles about some of the basics about different security types, or making certain types of trades in their portfolio. Now, the professors who've used assignments basically love it, and what they've been saying is that it needs to be a little bit easier for professors to use. And so we've made a bunch of professor-focused enhancements to these assignments to make them faster and easier for everybody. First, starting the week of January 21st, the assignment creation process is going to be added directly into the class creation flow. So instead of creating your class, going out, finding another page, and creating your assignment, it'll just be built right into the whole class flow. You can still skip it if you want, but it's going to be there for you. We also are adding in a default assignment, and the default assignment includes things like watching tutorial videos and reading some of the basic articles that the vast majority of professors have been using in the past. So this is to make it a little bit faster and easier for you to get started. Now, you still can use multiple assignments in your class. So one of the most common ways professors do use assignments is that they'll require students, for example, to make 5 trades each week. And you can still do that. So you can still go back and add more assignments to your class later. So if you haven't seen the assignments before, it looks like this, where you'll give each assignment a name. You'll pick its start and end dates. You can see this semester we're also adding a specific end time, so you can even say I want my students to finish this assignment by 4 p.m. of my local standard time. And then you check off which of the items that you want your students to complete and which ones they can skip. The default assignment is going to be including these first 10 items here, which are designed really to introduce your students to what a portfolio is, and a couple of the other ones throughout the page depending on what your class rules were. And then once you have things set the way you like, you just click Create, which will add the assignment to your class, and there's nothing more you'll need to do. It'll track all of your students' activities automatically. The next one is editing assignments. So in the past, once a professor created an assignment on their class, it was created and there was nothing else they could do about it. If they wanted to add something to it, or if they wanted to take something out, they'd have to delete the assignment and create a whole new one. That's no longer the case. So you can see on this assignments page here, there's a new tab for edit assignment. You can go in here and add and remove anything from your assignment as you see fit. It's pretty easy to use, and all you have to do is click add or remove to flag whether it's going to be in there. For items that include quizzes, you can choose whether or not students can retry those quizzes, and you click confirm to save the changes to your class. We also made it even faster to duplicate your assignments from a previous class. So there's two pieces of this. The first one is, a basic, I used this assignment last semester, I want to use it again this semester. You can do that with just a click now. And we also have it set up so if you are building new assignments from scratch, so example, if you're trying to build 5 or 6 assignments going over the course of the semester, we'll give you a flag if you've already included these tasks in a previous assignment. That way you won't accidentally have your students read the same article twice, for example. So if we go back to our assignments page and I want to create a new assignment, but I don't want to have to fill all this stuff out. I just want to copy my older assignment. It'll show me my older classes. I can select the assignments that I want to include and just click copy, and it'll fill out the form with all the stuff I had before. So I click create, and then I'm done. It's a lot faster. And the other half of that is now if I go back to create a new assignment, you'll see all of these things are flagged as red. That's because I already included them in my previous assignment. So I can still require them if I want to, but it's basically not recommended to have your students redo the same stuff other than trading. We don't flag the trading because that's one of the things that you probably will want to duplicate a couple of times. So basically, faster and easier to use your assignments from before, and faster and easier to create new ones without duplicating something accidentally. Next up is an enhancement to our Career Center. So we have expanded our Career Center with a more focus on certifications that will help students get jobs after they graduate. Information about the Series 7 exams, the CFA, CFPs, etc. You can also now include some of this as part of the assigned reading in your class assignments. So if we go at the top of the page here, you can see that we have the certifications, and the certifications, it has a few of them listed. There's more of them coming as we're getting, we're working with some of the certification providers to make sure we have accurate and the best possible information for students. And the whole idea here is making sure that students are getting something out of here that they're going to use when they graduate and help them get a job. And then in the assignments page itself, if you scroll down, there's actually a section called Career Development, and there's one of these articles called Careers in the Finance Industry, and there's a couple more that are going to be kind of broken down in addition to that. Another one on the Securities and Exchange Commission exams, another one on the CFP exam, things like that. So those new articles are coming over the next 3 or 4 weeks. We're kind of slowly rolling them out. And the assignments, the items added to the actual main menu for the students to find on their own are already present. The next enhancement to the assignments is a new item at the very bottom of the page here called assessments. So an assessment is a new type of assignment. So if you've used your assignments before, you'll know that when your students open up these articles, a lot of them are pretty straightforward, and it talks about a security type or something, and then it ends with a short pop quiz between 3 and 5 questions. So you can see in this assignment I have here, I've actually required my students to read quite a lot of articles and watch quite a few videos. So what the assessment does, it's going to look at all these other tasks that I've assigned, all these videos, all these articles. It's going to take the quizzes that were at the end of them, grab a couple questions from each one, and then give students a final quiz at the very end covering everything that they've been asked to do in this assignment. So it kind of is a summary of everything else that you've asked them to do. Now, the assessments feature is a lot more relevant to the professors who are using our personal finance tools, because of the personal finance stuff. You'll be grouping things in more contained units. We find that the personal finance teachers use the assignments more because there's actually just a lot more available for personal finance teachers. But basically, it makes it a lot easier to automate the assessment process rather than having to print out your own quizzes and try to line them up with all the other stuff that you've been having your students to do. Now you can just do it automatically, and since it's graded, you can just add it right to your grade books. Now, that covers most of what we've been doing that's going to be rolled out in January. We do have a few bigger projects that we're still working on that we're kind of slating to come out towards the middle of the semester, so late January or late February, early March. And these focus on some pretty big improvements to the reporting sections. So the first one is called the activity report. And the activity report is going to be kind of a summary of the kinds of actions your students are taking throughout the site. So how often do they log in, how often do they trade, that kind of thing. So as kind of a mock of what we're looking at, this would be something about what it looks like. You can you'll be able to hover over these charts to see more information on each day. So this up here, for example, is your class as a whole. This down here is each individual student in your class. And if you click on this more details, it's going to show you more details about what this student has been doing over time, what are the most recent orders. If you click days on the chart up here, it'll show you things like how many trades were made on that day, how many orders were placed, what was the average return of your class on that day, that kind of information. The other report that we're looking at is called a Diversification Report. The Diversification Report will be a way for you to see at a glance how do your students' portfolios break down both by security type and the types of industries that your students are investing in. So again, this is subject to quite a lot of change because it's still in development, but the idea here is you'll be able to see at the top here, this is how your class as a whole has broken down their investments by security type, where you can see kind of a stacked line chart as well as a pie chart showing, the stacked line chart will go up to the class's total portfolio value for that day, so you can see as a whole how they're doing. And the user holdings will be how each individual student is breaking it down. So you'll be able to view their portfolio. This is the sectors report, where it's going to show the top 5 sectors that they have, the top 5 holdings they have. You can expand the sectors to show how they're doing across all 13 sectors in the S&P 500. And you can also go by the security types that they're investing in as well, instead of by sector. This diversification report is going to be working best if your students are really focused on US exchanges. And the reason for that is we just don't have as much robust of a data feed for the sector breakdowns in the international markets. So I'm sorry for the international professors, because that's not going to be quite as useful, but for the US professors, this is going to be a pretty good way to get a quick view of how your class is breaking down. We have one more report we're working on too. I have no mocks of that because this one is going to be a completely customizable report. So the final customizable report will be a way for professors to create basically their own custom tables of the information they find the most relevant for their class, and they'll be able to save those reports for later reference as well. That way you can, if there's something that you want to see every week, for example, you will pull up that report, save it, and then look at it at your leisure. There's quite a few professors right now that work with our support team for regular custom reports, and we know how useful that is, and that's why we want to make it a little bit faster and easier for all professors to take advantage of. So that was a mouthful, but that does bring us through the stuff that we have planned for StockTrak coming up in the next 2 to 3 months. So if there's any other features that you wish we had that you'd like to see, let us know, because that's basically how we build our roadmap, is the professor feedback. You can contact our support team at any time. I showed you the live chat buttons that are throughout the site for towards the bottom of the page, little orange buttons. You can also contact me, Kevin, at ksmith@stocktrak.com, or Tom Reddy, treddy@stocktrak.com at any time if you have any questions about your class, or if you want more information about some best practices and things. So thank you for joining me, and have a great day.